Studio Days are an opportunity for educators to participate in job-embedded professional development. A vital piece of the Studio Day is making sure that all participants fully understand the context of their classroom environment. Here is a sample Studio Day schedule. It is crucial that the first hour of Studio Day begin with an introduction and briefing so all participants feel prepared to enter the host teacher's classroom and be able to positively contribute to the learning environment. The host teacher spends the first part of the time briefing her colleagues about content, students, unit goals, and prior activities to orient others to what has already happened before the Studio Day. In the following high school example, listen to how this teacher deepens her colleagues' content understanding of the science that explains the phenomena students are currently studying. This kind of content orientation is crucial for participating educators to positively contribute to interactions with students as they discuss ideas.
So, because this causeway was put in, it's cut off exchange of the water here. And so this area has become saltier and saltier and saltier. It's so salty that really only one organism lives there now. It's called the halobacteria. Halo does not live down here though because it's not salty enough. And so what happens is if you put it in this concentration, it will lyse and water goes in and the kids say pops, lyse, whatever, same thing. So, but down here there's a lot of biodiversity. So this is the north part, even though the picture. So you can see it's a really purplish color, and over here it's normal. And this is a bluish color because there's actually this blue-green algae that grows here. All right. And here's another picture. There's a ton of salt, and then over here there's not.
No, it's not.
Also during the briefing time, the host teacher describes activities students have engaged with so far in the unit. Knowing about the kinds of experiences students have had will allow participants to help students connect ideas with evidence from prior experiences when they're in the classroom. This following clip is from a 7th grade Studio Day example. The host teacher briefs her colleagues on the activities her students have engaged with so far to help them explain how bacteria can become antibiotic resistant.
What we have done is presented to the kids a PBS video on an antibiotic resistant bacteria that has been nicknamed Arachibacter. And it's a bacteria that soldiers are getting their battle wounds or their war wounds infected with, and it's being brought back to the U.S., and that's kind of where the resistance has occurred.
So this is the puzzling phenomenon that they're working with for the whole unit.
Right, so our question to them was kind of, if this bacteria didn't used to be antibiotic resistant, then how, it's sort of a natural selection question, but we tried to focus it on the idea of if bacteria reproduces just by making a copy of itself, how did new traits show up at all? That's kind of where we focused it. We tried not to focus on the natural selection part of it. So we started out with some work of just what are bacteria and comparing them to other cells we'd studied, like yeast cells and animal cells. And then we went into some computer animation and reading work on just what DNA is, which is where you'll find that in the 7th grade classrooms, the kids did a semester of chemistry before they did life science, so they talk about molecules really well, and they can even talk about atoms. And that's a restructuring that we did at Cascade this year. So we're really trying to focus on the idea of DNA as a molecule that can be rearranged, the atoms can be changed, and then that leads to these other changes.
As the host teacher orients her colleagues to the unit, participants ask questions to better understand the unit topics, to deepen and clarify their own science content knowledge, and to understand the ideas students are currently using to help them understand the phenomenon. After the participants are confident in their understanding of the unit, they create an explanation of the science phenomenon that they anticipate students would create. They differentiate levels of explanation based on 3 levels: what, how, and why. The what level focuses on observable characteristics answering what happened. The how level goes deeper to connect direct observations with inferences about how it happened. And the deepest level answers why this phenomenon occurs, and students use evidence from science activities to explain the unobservable causal mechanisms that create the phenomenon. Finally, participants plan together about how to engage all students in the task set forth in the lesson plan. Participants examine the task, looking for the tools that support student thinking and how student talk will be supported. This part of the day is important because it is time to plan back pocket questions that guide student talk. The desired outcomes of the introduction and briefing are to deepen the content understanding of the participants, to differentiate the explanation to help with assessment of students' understanding, to plan back-pocket questions that participants can use to engage students in science talk and pull together their understandings of different parts of the explanation, and to learn about the tools the teacher has used and brainstorm revision to these tools to help scaffold student talk. At the end of the co-plan, the team decides on the changes to the task talk or tools that will help students move from a what and how level explanation towards a why level explanation. This briefing phase of the studio day prepares participants for the next phase, which is co-teaching in the host teacher's classroom.